The difference in responsibilities though, because I would assume that the investigators, the cops, are looking at whether there are two wine glasses and only one person's in the body and on the floor, or that kind of thing. I don't know, but are they the ones looking at all of that, and you really are looking at what happened to this person and who they are in the room? I mean, you can find a body in a suitcase cut up in the ocean. Like, there's all sorts of ways that it's not that easy in a room. So your job, I'm assuming, is figuring out the cause and the manner of the death, and it's the cop's job to and the investigator's job to figure out what was going on and how it happened also.
There's a lot of crossover there.
Okay.
If I am, if I have a strong feeling that it was a homicide, let's say that the person's head was bashed in
Mm,
or on the floor. That could be an accident. It's
mm,
possible you slip and fall. Or it could be that they were hit with a blunt object. So we're looking around for that blunt object, of course, and
yeah.
looking at the wound to get a better characterization. I can tell if it was a tire iron or a 2x4. So the police, their job is to take the evidence that I give them,
Mhm.
and the manner of death that I give them, and then go catch a perpetrator.
Right.
I don't chase suspects. Hopefully I'm in touch with the detectives and they tell me what's going on. But my job is to give them evidence
Right.
that will lead them to a
To the
perpetrator.
suspect. Yeah. Um, what do you think of cases that have become, Netflix docuseries because they've never been solved? Did you ever follow the one about, I think it was called The Death on the Staircase, about the wife who fell down the staircase and then they thought it was the husband. They found out the husband was having a gay affair, and then he said it was an owl that came in and hit her in the face. Or I mean, it was intriguing to watch. And to this day, you don't really know if he did it. Like, do you ever follow
Uh,
stuff like that? And you're like, wait a minute, I know whether or not he did it.
yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's strange. You've read my mind. I was just, when I thought about blunt forced trauma, I thought, oh, of course, that case.
Yeah.
So he's in prison right now, I assume?
I don't know. I can't remember because I was so into the actual movie, and I remember he came up with this defense that it was an owl, and I was like, "Wait a minute, did he ever go to jail?" As it was coming out of my mouth, I think he's in jail.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. So anything is possible, except the fact that a person could walk down the stairs and fall and then hit their head on multiple planes, like this
Oh,
side,
right.
the back.
Ricochet their head. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen. There was so much evidence there. There was blood spatter everywhere.
Mhm.
And it wasn't the kind of blood spatter that, let's say you fall down forward onto the stairs, you're going to hit your face and your head. Your face may bleed and shoot outwards, but not high up on the wall.
Right.
So where are you falling? Even if you're tumbling down the stairs, maybe you break your neck, maybe you slam your face, there's blood, but it's not spraying all over the place
Yeah.
at different heights. No, that doesn't happen. And I do recall there was this guy, a detective called Jimmy Cold Case,
Mhm.
because that's mostly what he worked on. But he was at a scene I came to where a guy fell down the stairs. It was obvious he was drunk, but he had a perfectly neat little bullet hole in his head. And I could prove that was an accident because he hit a stone corner at the bottom of the wall. It wasn't a gunshot. But then Jimmy Cold Case and I won another case where a guy had blood everywhere. He was at the bottom of the stairs. And I said, clearly a homicide. Jimmy said, no. What about if he fell forward, but then he caught himself on the rail and flipped to the side, striking his head on the right. Then it bounced, ricocheted to the left. Then he fell backwards again over the railing and hit his head on the mailbox. What do you think about that? I said, Jimmy, anything is possible except that. So,
Oh my gosh. So you are called to trial once in a while to testify as an expert in cases. Can they be cases that you were not the death investigator on?
yes, that is possible. It's rare, but
Okay.
if it's an old case and the investigator is no longer with the office, as the supervisor, I was, the director of investigations, et cetera. I can go in and read from their notes and from their photographs and help the jury interpret what those notes and what those photographs mean. So yeah, it's done.
I see. But the trials that you're called to are mostly ones you were involved with from the beginning.
Yeah. And just 3, 4 weeks ago, I was called in for a case I did 31 years ago. 31
Wow.
years. A mother and daughter were killed in their apartment. And right away, I had an idea who it was, but we couldn't prove anything. We had DNA, but when you put it in the CODIS and the data banks, it didn't hit to anybody. So
Hmm.
obviously, he had never been arrested before. Well, we never give up. Cold case unit ran it again after 30 years, and it hit to somebody. And it's exactly the guy that I thought it was.
Oh, wow. So
So,
is he was on trial?
oh yeah, so I got to testify at his trial, and he was found guilty, and he's being sentenced now.
Wow.
Could you
Fascinating.
imagine getting away
No,
with
I
a
can't,
double
but that
murder?
bringing something to closure like that has got to feel so good in what you do.
It sure does. It sure
Wow.
does.
Wow. So in a lot of the episodes I've seen that you've done of the death investigator on Oxygen, you guys talk a lot about the smell, and we always see that in the movies. They make it very clear that there is a smell that goes with death. What is so distinct about this death smell?
Mm, that it's composed of multiple compounds, and there's nothing like them that you can relate to in any way. I mean, I've called it a strawberry milkshake made with garlic, but that doesn't quite catch it. It's the smell of feces, sulfur, deep decay, um, insects. It's a horrible, horrible smell. Um, and no one's, there are chemicals that are responsible for these smells, but there's something about the combination, and it's oily. So
Hmm.
the air will settle in your hair and on your clothing, and it's unbreathable. And there's really
Wow.
nothing you can do about it. Forget about putting Vicks under your nose. It doesn't. Just make
Right. Does a mask prevent you from breathing it, or it still goes through?
No, it's so insistent, it's so deep that even a mask, I mean, if you wore a complete gas mask, of
Right,
course,
right.
but then when you took it off, it's all over your body.
Yeah. So, and I saw in a recent episode that I saw of yours that you had been upset with some detectives for opening a window, opening the door because you actually needed to smell that smell to get some answers. Can you explain that?
Sure. The first reason I don't want windows open is because it changes the temperature of the room. And I
Mm,
need that temperature to calculate time of death. So you're sort of cooling the body down much faster than it should be.
right.
It's 1.5 degrees per hour in a 70-degree room. So that's the main thing. But also the smells of alcohol. That's a very distinct smell. And if you've got breezes blowing through, I'm not going to catch it.
Yeah.
Also, things like poisoning. Um, there is a poison that for some reason has escaped my mind. It smells like choke cherries or bitter almond. Oh, cyanide, that's it.
Oh,
So I can, I
the
remember,
one always used on the ID network to kill your husband or your wife,
yeah,
cyanide or antifreeze. I've always noticed that's a popular one.
antifreeze. That's a good one. Yeah. But of course, we're going to pick it up on toxicology.
Ah, God.
And don't leave the damn antifreeze bottle around half full because we know it's a possibility.
Right, right.
I recall bending over a guy who just looked like, ordinary death, passed away, a heart attack. But as soon as I got near him, I smelled choke
Mm,
cherries. And I said, let's look for some cyanide, guys. And we found it.
right. So there is a difference, obviously, between going and seeing one person or just a few dead, as opposed to a mass casualty. Like I know
Mhm.
you were involved in the Thailand tsunami,
Yeah.
also 9/11. Can you
Yeah.
share a little bit about how you deal with that kind of mass casualty and what it is that you do?
The truth is, for a long time, I just didn't deal with it.
Mm,
9/11 was so um, traumatic to work on because we were seeing things that were not imaginable, like
mm,
two jawbones inside somebody's chest. Like, how
mm,
does that make sense? The forces, the destruction, the disintegration of people. That was a rough
mhm.
one. And so for a long time, I didn't deal with it, and I just got more and more angry. I never wanted to go home. My relationship ended, and that
Wow.
was happening for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Drinking and
Yeah.
cheating, all kinds of things. It was a way to cope, but we didn't cope. Then the Thailand tsunami. Oh, I do want to say one thing though. At first, when in recovering bodies, remains from the World Trade Center,
Mhm.
I didn't have much identification with the people, that
Mhm.
victims, because nothing personal of that person was there. But then when I met the families of the dead, oh my God, that wrenched my heart out of my chest, twisted it, dried it out, put it back like an old dried prune.
Mm.
It was so heartbreaking to see their pain, unbearable. And when I went to the tsunami, um, it was a horrific scene. Thousands of bodies laying out on the ground, decomposed, and, couldn't even recognize hardly a human being,
Mhm.
recognizable as a human being.
Were
But
these bodies ones that kind of they had been collected and put in one spot, or
yeah,
and that's when you came into that case?
yeah, they decided to take the bodies, their body collection points or morgues were the temples, so that
Uh,
all around each temple there were areas filled with bodies and trenches where we buried them,
uh,
because they figured, well, at least the monks can now bless them on their
oh wow.
way to the next world,
Mhm.
or whatever the belief may be. Uh, but there was something very interesting about the Thai people and their philosophy and their religion.
Mhm.
And that is that even though they were devastated, they had lost their homes, family members died, so many terrible things happened. And yet, when the government said, we need to rebuild, we're paying 50 baht an hour, and trucks would go through the cities, through Bangkok, loudspeaker, come and work, come and work. People came and they worked. They rebuilt the resorts because they depend on tourism.
Mhm.
They rebuilt manufacturing. They rebuilt everything and so much self-sacrifice. But meanwhile, they were living in little cardboard sheds or whatever
Yeah.
they could get their hands on, dormitories. There was something about the call to duty and responsibility to the victims that was, it changed my attitude, changed my heart
Mm.
to see how these people handled death. Um, and a lot of it has to do with their faiths. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I want to go back to 9/11 for a minute. I don't know how much you know about me, but I lost my fiance in the World Trade Center.
oh,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
so I thank you for, your service and what you did for us because I searched high and low for him. I was working at Bloomberg News at the time. I was on it. I was covering it. I was there as a producer, but covering it, talking to him in the building. He was in the second building that got hit, but the first building that fell. And as you said, there was no identification on most people
Mhm.
because it had disintegrated or whatever. And we looked for him and didn't find him until essentially right around New Year's Eve. And every so often, I would get a letter in the mail and it would just have like a credit card that was frayed on the sides or an ID card or something, and it would come to my house. And that actually gave me hope because I was like, they're closer to finding him, even though, of course, that didn't mean anything. But those things were at least I had, remember the time you like didn't know anything and you just wish you knew something and anything to hold on to. First, you're like, maybe they're okay underneath somehow. Maybe they made it out and I just didn't know. You have hope in all sorts of weird ways. And then it became, I need them to find the body because I need to know what happened. I have to know what happened. I need to know if he was burned. I need to know if, what it was. So eventually they found him. I got a call, I guess. It's kind of blurry. I can't remember, but I got a call and it was blunt force trauma was the cause of death. So I guess my question for you is when they found him, was it likely someone like you that decided the cause of death, or were pieces of bodies and bodies transported to places, to morgues, and you guys were going through the pieces to figure out who they were and how they died? Like, how did that process go down?
Um, First of all, I'm so, so sorry that is so tragic to lose your fiance like that. Um, the resilience you have to just pick up and keep going is beautiful. And I'm so,
Thank you.
so sorry for you. Um, we already knew the cause of death. Every one of them were murdered, every
Mm,
single one, by the terrorists. Um, and our biggest concern was recovering the remains and identifying every single one.
mm,
And as you probably know, of the more than 2,000, I think 2,430 something people were killed,
mm,
we had more than 20,000 remains. Some of them tiny, tiny, smaller than a dime. Some of them even a piece of bone weighing 1 gram or less.
mm,
And yet we had to take every single one of them and do DNA testing, do dental records, everything we could to identify them, to return the remains to the families.
mm.
That's the number one objective. We know how they died. We know when they died. We know who did it. We know what time it was. We know everything about it
Right.
except who they were. And so that became our mission. And Dr. Hirsch said that we would do whatever it takes for as long as it takes until every single person has been found and identified.
Mm,
You know the impossibility of that.
mm,
40%, after 24 years, 40% of the people remain unidentified.
mm.
And that is because the forces of that implosion, explosion, and collapse were overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming.